Hi and welcome to the Monash University Health and Physical Education Proposition Conversations. In this video, you'll be introduced to the key idea of critical inquiry, and you'll be provided with an in-practice example.
So a critical inquiry approach is an approach that starts to explore the personal, social and environmental factors that impact us in our society. When I think of critical inquiry, I like to attach a socio-critical approach to critical inquiry that asks us to challenge the taken for granted assumptions that sit beneath the surface of a lot of what we explore in health and phys ed.
So my take on critical inquiry is that it's actually way more than a questioning approach. What I'd like to see critical inquiry becoming in schools and in fact in universities as well is a way to think about the world and to question it in different kinds of ways. So as a pedagogical practice and also as a lens, I think what that provides us with then is an opportunity to encourage young people to think about the world in which they live and to delve deeper into some of the things that make it tick, but that also make it really quite confusing. So I think for me the key take home about critical inquiry is that it's an approach that can encourage us to question taken for granted assumptions. It can encourage ourselves to do that within our curriculum and our teaching. And if we can bring that to our classrooms and to our young people, then they'll be going far beyond a questioning approach and way into the fields of thinking about the kind of world that they want to live in and the kind of world they'd like to construct.
So we can use critical inquiry for a range of things in our teaching. Many teachers probably think of critical inquiry as part of a big project, a large unit of work. I think before we embark on any significant large chunks of work using critical inquiry, we need to foreground the key skills and knowledge that enable the learners to be able to utilise a critical inquiry approach. This would require, I think, scaffolded examples that you build over time, which can then lead into a larger focused project, for example.
So an example that I'd like to provide for critical inquiry is via a media text analysis. And so what I would like to use as my stimulus is the recent success, or otherwise I guess you could argue, of the AFL for women in Victoria. Now, what I'd like to bring to this discussion is also a media text analysis. And so the media had a lot to play in the success of this competition and the players who emerged from it. So what I'd like to do is to have students take some media text from a variety of different sources and to then just apply a lens to that to be able to unpack what the main messages are. So as a teacher, scaffolding the questions from easier through to harder so that the students get below the surface of what's on the top and into the deeper meanings and messages. Now, who are those meanings and messages for? Well, firstly, I think they're for the young people themselves because they're reading them, for the community, but also for the players in this organisation. I think there's also messages, obviously, for clubs and for teams and for other sports administrators. What I then actually get young people to do is to start to think about how they might be able to apply that understanding that they've got from this one example around sport and gender and media and perhaps take it to another sport. Perhaps bring it to their school and their own school sports involvements, so that what they can start to do is to deconstruct and to understand that behind everything that's written in the media, there is a dominant message that's coming through that they can ask critical questions about.
So the key skills young people need when undertaking a critical inquiry approach are being able to identify and refine topics of interest or key questions that they want to ask, being able to source quality information and sort of combine information together, being able to process and create an argument and present that argument with evidence to support what they're saying, and being able to see things from multiple perspectives and challenge those taken for granted assumptions. These key skills are going to need to be developed and scaffolded over time and progressively built upon so that students can engage in larger projects around critical inquiry.
So I think critical inquiry also has an advocacy approach to it, and I think that becomes an important feature of it as opposed to just simply researching or finding out answers to difficult questions. These are about complex questions. These are about complex questions about how we operate in the world and how the world operates upon us as well. So there's an advocacy role here for young people as well as for teachers to be able to provide these opportunities to young people to push the boundary conditions of what they actually know.
I see a critical inquiry approach as working when students tackle everyday issues that are relevant and meaningful to them, and perhaps this would include exploring issues within the school ground. So what access do they have to movement? What are the things that are stopping access to movement in their school ground? And they might go out and explore, collect data, ask questions, challenge, and come back and provide an alternative explanation of access to movement in their everyday lives, either in their own school community or even broader. So those are kinds of things you could apply a critical inquiry approach to, but I think scaffold them throughout the everyday practice.
I think at its heart, critical inquiry has social justice, and I think that this is an important thing to bring to your health and movement classes. If you can instill in young people an understanding of what it's like to exist in the world, perhaps outside their own bodies, and to question the ideas that position people in different kinds of ways, for example, along diverse or difference lines, then you're going a long way to developing in the hearts of young people a socially conscious youth that can go out and solve some more complex problems that they're going to be facing in the future.
Thank you for tuning in to the Monash University Health and Physical Education Proposition Conversations.